Hello?
All right, everybody. Here we are live from New York. We are hope. Oh, crud. Okay, guys. We have a little problem, so it is not streaming. Julie, we're not going live. I'm just going to go record this because the only thing it's going out to is live with Neve on YouTube. So for everybody watching, go ahead, check it out live on YouTube, and we'll have it on Facebook after the show. So today we've got a great lineup for everybody. I'm going to be talking to Pandora Rocks. I will be talking to Rich Miller, and we're going to have the owners of A to C Boogie and High Music. We're also going to have Wayne Carr, and we'll be talking to him first about some of his new songs. And I'm just going to bring on Wayne and hope you guys enjoy the show. We're going to be talking country. We've got some great artists here, and we're going to just talk music, country and music life after COVID, what we've all been going through. And I really hope you all enjoy the show because I think it's going to be a good one. All right, so I'm going to bring on Wayne and Peggy, and let's get rolling.
Okay, let's go.
How are you, man? Hey, guys. Hello, Peggy.
Hi.
Good to finally. Good morning. It's good to finally, see you guys in person and have you on. We've been talking a while. Hope you have a good time. So let's just jump right in. Tell us about how you started your company, your booking agency, and your record label, and then we'll talk about your career, Wayne, and both of you guys, because you've been married for a few days, it appears, and hopefully you can tell us some wisdom you've picked up over the years in this crazy business we call home.
Yeah, I've been in it about off and on for about 40 years, okay?
Right.
I lived in Nashville for a while. I was, with Wayne Wilson when we cut Dealing with the Devil, which was written by Whitey Schaefer and Eddie Rabin.
Oh,
And
right.
Eddie Rabin had the big hit on it. Merle Haggard cut it. And then I had a whole album on Wayne Wilson, One More Cheating Song, Same Eyes That Always Drive Me Crazy, and Shove It. And he went real good. And we worked with Bill Anderson when he owned the radio station. We went out to open his radio station. And we was out there with David Rogers, and which I had out Darling. And we did the NCO club out there, and Wayne got 3 standing ovations that night, which Wayne, I heard, passed away. He had problems with his sugar diabetes and everything, and sorry to hear that. But he was a great artist. I worked with Mel Tyndall, which was a disc jockey down in North Little Rock, Arkansas, which he had out a pretty good record. And
So I guess you've been doing this more than a few hours.
yes, sir. Yeah,
Tell me about.
I'd like to say something.
Sure.
With a song, what makes a song is your staff musicians, your players in Nashville, and your studio musicians. Without them, you don't have nothing.
Absolutely. Hey, can I get you, Wayne, while we're talking directly? Can I get you to sit a little front of the monitor? I'm only getting half your face, and you're a good-looking man. We'd like to have you on here.
No, go for
And Peggy, we'll have you
Okay.
back in the center frame any minute.
it. Okay.
All righty. There he
Can you
is.
see me? Can you see
I
me
can
now?
see you now. If you can get it over a little more, that would be good. I'm going to have Peggy on as well. I can only see half of you.
There.
There we go. Now you're centered. All right. So
All right.
carry on, Wayne. I'm fascinated to hear the story of the studio musicians. Tell me some of those folks that you've worked with that you think highly of.
I've worked with Cliff Parker, Big Jim Vest on the steel, Cliff Parker. They're the Nashville Cats in Nashville.
Wow.
And I work with different ones down there. There's so many great
Oh yeah.
musicians in Nashville. And
Right.
everybody in Nashville can pick.
Yes, you can.
Also,
It's the,
you're a drummer yourself. You've been around a little bit.
oh, I have, and it's just the never-ending joy of life. Sometimes you have a few hang-ups
Mm,
along the ride, but overall,
right,
music's always been my psychology help. It keeps me
right,
somewhat sane, anyway. If I wasn't totally sane, I wouldn't be in the music biz.
right. I was with uh, in Nashville, Fred Carter Jr. He was a
Wow.
famous guitar player, a session player, and he
Mm-hmm.
invited me one night, and we went out to a studio in which Bobby Goldsboro was there,
Mm-hmm.
Floyd Kramer on the piano, and they were doing a special for somebody out in L.A. I don't know who it was, but that was something to see.
I
You had
imagine.
some, yeah, you had Floyd Kramer, which was inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That yeah, and so
So
that was a
I have to
fun
ask
deal.
you, have I'm just going to ask you something like just a softball question. Have you ever met the king?
No, I never
Nope.
met the king.
Well, that's all right. It's always interesting. I have him. I can't see him on air, but he's behind me watching over the proceedings here just to keep us honest.
Yeah, I
He's
worked
on
with
my wall.
Dolly Parton's. I worked with Dolly Parton's aunt, Dorothy Joe, which passed away. She
Uh
was a
huh.
great writer, and her uncle, Bill Owens. And
Wow.
Dolly's aunt was the one that wrote Daddy Was Old Time Preacher Man.
Yes,
And Dolly had the big hit on it. That was
that's
all
great.
family there. But I've had, it was great for me meeting these people and being able, I produced the album on Dorothy Joe,
Hmm.
and it went pretty good. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Tell me some of your favorite musicians growing up. Like, let's back up a little farther. When was the first time you ever picked up a guitar and it became part of your body?
My mother was played the guitar and piano. My mother had a guitar at home at the time, and
Hmm.
I'd reach and get it and pick it up a little bit here and there. Uh,
And
I come from a family that was in gospel, a lot of gospel
hmm.
music.
Okay.
The Williams gospel singers,
Hmm.
and where I come from, the Inspirations, the great
Okay.
Inspirations that came out. And they had my aunt and uncle had a radio show every week on Sunday. They did a gospel show. Yeah.
What was the name of the show? If you don't mind me asking.
It was the Williams Gospel Singers,
Okay, and wow, that's
which
I
was
think a lot of people forget how much of modern music, from rock and roll to blues to country, how much gospel influence is in that. Especially the 30s, 40s, and 50s. That music that really set the whole. There's Jimmy Smith, and there was all these people, but they all, it seems like a lot of them had a gospel background. And I'm a New
right.
York guy. I moved south and lived down there for 40 years. And I really learned a lot about music because as a drummer, I just played wherever I could, whenever I could, and I get a paycheck. And a
Hmm.
lot of the people I've learned, along the way, I try to learn something from everybody I work with because I think it's the only way you grow as a musician. And I can appreciate
Right.
gospel whenever I listen to a great gospel band, the vocals and the presentation of it.
Hmm.
It's you can tell where modern music comes from if you listen and are open to doing a little homework. I think
Right.
most
Gospel,
people were aware.
and old rhythm and blues too. A
Absolutely,
lot of your songs
absolutely,
come from the rhythm and yeah.
yes. I mean, there is just some great music. Heck, next time I'm in Tennessee, I'd like to go see the Reverend Al Green have a church service one Sunday. I think I might be due for a little churching up, so to speak.
I might myself. uh,
What can I tell you? I do my best to behave, but sometimes it's hard.
right. I'd like to come back to on Pandora and Rich Miller both. Okay, they're both truck
Absolutely.
drivers. They're both
Yes.
truck drivers, and I met them at the Petro truck stop in Knoxville, Tennessee. I met Rich one night there. He walked up to me and he said, "I'm a singer." And I said, "You are?" I said, "You got anything I can hear?" He said, "Yeah, come up here to the truck." He played me a song, and then I got to talking to him, and I said, "Okay, let's do something." So we signed, and it's been history ever since. Pandora, I want to get back to you on her. A little
Oh
story.
yeah.
She
You
locked
met
her
you met her on
keys.
your front porch?
Pardon me?
I said, did you meet her on your front porch? I misheard you.
No, I met her at the truck stop in Knoxville at the Petro. She locked her keys. She locked her keys in her truck, and we
Oh,
tried to help.
yikes!
And we
That
tried
was
to
a
get it,
bad.
and we finally got it open. Well, she was sitting over there like a little lost girl that lost her baby doll. So we got her keys out of her truck, and she was there. Well, she says,
Excellent.
"I'm a singer." And I said, "Well, let me hear you." She started singing. All the truck drivers started getting out of the truck and gathering around. I said, "Ho, ho, wait a minute. We got a concert going on here.
Excellent.
So one thing led to another, and I said, "Okay, let me see if I can get some songs for you." And we went
Right.
from there. We went into the studio, and now she's out there.
Well, I heard I'm always listening and running around YouTube and listening to things, and I found you guys very intriguing. I've listened to Rich, and I've listened to Pandora's music, and I've listened to some of her rock and roll that she's done in the past. And I have to direct a question. I like you guys, all of you. I have to say that, and I appreciate you coming on with us. For everybody who's watching, we're talking Nashville, we're talking country, we're talking with Rich Miller, Wayne and Peggy Carringer, or Carr, excuse me, and you're talking to me. And Julie is sitting in the background, and she's watching us, praying over us, making sure that we. She's got a line here on the computer, which will just give me a little shock collar if I misbehave during the course of the broadcast. It's going to be like, "Hey, I was thinking about," so all will be well. I have a question for Peggy. Obviously, you and Wayne have been married together for a long time. What kind of advice can you get to the ladies out there who are married to a musician? And I don't mean don't marry one. I mean, what advice would you give the ladies or a man? I'm going to ask Pandora the same
Well,
question.
you got to be able to love music, first of all.
Hmm.
Okay. And then that way you can put up with everything.
That's true.
It's
Well,
it's a
we
give
all
and
are.
take.
Yes, it is.
It's
It,
all 50-50. So, that's how it is.
well, I tell you what, you get the Medal of Courage award. I always tell people when they're getting married to a musician, whether it's a man or a woman, I'm like, be sure you're ready for this because things at times get weird. And you might do
Yep.
better with a guy who doesn't get calls that has to be at a session at midnight, after he came
Well,
home from a gig.
he's taught
And
me
that
a lot.
happens.
So,
Right, right. Well, great. Okay, well, guys, I'm going to get back to you all in a little bit, and I'm going to switch over to Rich. He's sitting waiting on us. Pandora, you're being patient. Don't worry, we all get as much time as we need. We're going to have you on, and I'm going to ask a bunch of questions because I really do. I love all you guys. And as this unfolds and COVID gets better, I hope to see you every couple of months. Just telling me what you're up to and how things are going. So, without further ado, for everybody, we have Rich Miller on, and he has got some excellent songs. My personal favorite, being a reformed drunk, is All the Whiskey. We have Running from the Rain, and we have Hungry. Any rate, we'll have him on, and Pandora will be coming up, and here we go. Hello, Rhett.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm doing good.
Well, let's talk music, man. How long you been doing this?
I started singing when I was 8 years old, and it progressed, and then eventually, as an adult, back in the '90s, I started doing live shows and just going everywhere and singing, try to come out, you know. So it's been a long
Hmm.
time, over 30 some years.
Well, that's great. Um, Tell me, did you have? I'm going to go off camera and just ask you some questions because you're better looking than I am, and the audience wants to hear you rather than me,
Oh, I
man.
appreciate you.
Yeah, man. I'm just gonna ask you some questions.
Hello. Hello.
Okay, we'll never mind these technical details. Rich will be right back. I think he's disappeared because of some kind of Facebook or YouTube shenanigans. So, without much ado, I'm going to bring him back in a minute when he comes back on, and we're going to go with Pandora right now. Good morning. How are
Good
you?
morning. Pretty good, thank you.
How's it going down in Alabama this morning?
It's nice. It's not too cold, and I really appreciate you for having me on the show. And I have to give
Well,
credit where it's due. It's a whole team that are behind all of this, and I thank Miss Peggy and Mr. Wayne and Miss Teresa for offering to get me started with her beautiful music. And I love working with it, and I'm looking
mhm,
forward to doing more cuts for her. And
mhm.
also, I want to appreciate the A to Z. They are the booking agency for working with me, and I would not be able to do this alone. And I'm very grateful for everyone.
Sure. Well, you're a very nice lady, and you've got good manners, and you should always thank all the people on our team. And while we're talking about that, I
Oh,
got a
I
big,
will.
big thank you to my long-suffering producer and my girlfriend for putting up with my life. And I have to say, we all stand on the shoulders of giants, no matter what you're trying to do in the industry. It's one of the most challenging things you'll do is trying to make it in music. And you're an unusual girl. I mean, you're a open haul truck driver, owner operator, which is a great thing. And I think everybody who's listening out there, with all this COVID BS going on, if it wasn't for our truckers, we would all be starving. We wouldn't have any medicine. We'd just have a hell of a mess. So when you see them on the road, remember, they don't stop the same as you do. So don't pull in front of them and then reach around and slap your
Right.
kid in the back seat. You might end up killing yourself or someone else. Um, and all I can tell you is a big thank you to you and Rich. Rich, we're going to have you right back on. I'm sorry we had that little confusion with the audio going on, but I promise we're going to talk and carry on this conversation. So tell me, when did you start singing? And what got you? I know you've done some rock and roll. I could see from your past. I've looked over your stuff. So tell us a little bit about it, and I'm going to just bring you up, and we'll talk. Here you
Oh,
go.
thank you. um, my I was, my father was my first influence to sing, and it was years ago. He picked up his guitar and he had bought it. He was so proud for it. And he had such a beautiful voice. He would sing Dock of the Bay and Proud Mary. And I want to be like my father.
Wow.
He still plays guitar and he's just an amazing influence for me. And he lives down in South Florida.
Okay.
And so this is how I started. But I lived in a lot of big cities growing up, and I fell in love with rock music and heavy rock. And I
Hmm.
started when I moved to Muscle Shoals, the Florence, Alabama area. I learned to fall in love with country music. It was just a whole new world for me. And doing covers like Sarah McLachlan and Leanne Rimes, Faith Hill, they just are such an influence to me because of and Dolly Parton. I have not ever attempted to sing anything behind Dolly Parton. She's just an amazing woman, and I would never ever. I don't think I could ever sing behind Dolly Parton. But
Well, I guess I'll give you some advice. Let the fans worry about that. You just worry on doing what you're doing because you sing good and you're working hard. And, not only you have to work your normal job, people don't understand what it's like to be a musician and sacrifices and personal life at times, family activities, things that at times you've got to be somewhere and you want to be somewhere else, but it's important because you don't get second invites sometimes, and opportunity may knock once and you got to go.
Yes, sir. I had told my
So
dispatch they have to get me home today so that I can be prepared for this, and they were very. I work with it's a company called Duke Transportation out of Cincinnati, and they're just great to me. And I've subcontracted with them, and they run me good, and they're honest with me. But I always want to give accreditation for people that deserve it in my life, for sure.
well, let me ask you this. What's your usual route? Do you have a fixed route, or is it just wherever they send you that day or week, or how long do you typically out for?
Just chasing the money.
Chasing the
Freight that
money,
pays the best.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. Where if they'll say, hey, they'll offer me multiple loads wherever I'm at, and I'm usually out for a couple of weeks. But I run through West Memphis quite a bit, and just down south, and I just run how I want to. And when it comes to touring, my company are on board with me regarding that. And if I need to, I'll put somebody else in my truck. They've offered to find someone, or I can just park the truck and do what I got to do in the industry. It's a very, very demanding industry. The recording industry is. It takes an entire team behind the artist. It's an artist can pursue this their whole life, but without that
Right.
team behind them, it's just
It is really hard to put a good team together. I've been doing bands since I was a kid, and if I do a Venn diagram, it's astounding how many people over decades of playing music that I run into. I'm working on a book about Tampa's music scene from 1960 to the present. And what happens is every time I call somebody, or I always say every relationship begins with a good stalker. And I say that because to try and get people on the phone, if they don't know you, I know everybody in Tampa music scene. So every time I talk to someone, they remind me of someone I've forgotten who has to be in the book. I had the idea of calling 8 or 10 friends of mine, and every time I'd call somebody they'd recommend somebody else. So I've not even have any idea how many interviews are left. There was like a pile of them. And, the book, it'll take a while. It's like everything. It's like writing a record, only 340 songs worth, I reckon, would be an easy way to describe it. Um, so when you're home and things were not crazy COVID, did you have like your own band at home or your posse of people that you worked with that you found when you moved there?
no, sir. I've just been throwing myself into the trucking industry and doing what I have to do as an owner operator. But along the way, I've met some interesting musicians, and
Hmm.
I had a I've worked for some people in Muscle Shoals in the studio. Charles Holloman, he came from North Carolina, and I was able to work with him with some heavy rock that I had written because I'm eclectic, and I write a different variety between Southern and heavy rock. And
Right.
but he was great to work with, and I've met. We're going to studio with Billy Lawson next here in Muscle
Okay. Now, are you
Shoals,
going into
and
the original Muscle Shoals recording that's on so many albums in history? Is that where you're going? It doesn't matter either way. I'm just curious. I want to make a
well,
pilgrimage there because it's reopened.
we have Fame Recording Studio, and I mean, I spoke to
Yes.
them before about, but the music that was creating was heavy rock, and they really didn't have the musicians to accommodate for the heavy rock.
Right.
So I went with Charles Holloman, and
Okay.
we're going to be doing a lot of country music. And Miss Teresa Saylor, I hope I pronounced her name right. I'm singing her creations. And
Right.
when we're done with that, hopefully we'll start projecting with the Southern rock and tie
Hmm.
that in with the country and country rock.
Great. Well, I look forward to hearing that. You have a great voice, and I have to say, you're a nice, hardworking woman, and I give you great credit for doing both things. Again, your job is challenging, and with all the idiots on the road, I give great respect to you guys. I know Rich is sitting there. I can see him on the screen below. He's going, man, this guy can talk. He can talk a while. But don't worry, Rich. I'll have you on soon, man. And you got your own story to tell, and then we'll kind of all gather for some kind of free for all at the end. We can tell each other our favorite musical crazy stories. It could be about a crazy ex who, stalked the band, or any number of fun things. There could just be a fun story of somebody who came up and tipped you $100 bill. But we'll get back to all that, and I'm going to go ahead and we'll have you back. Do you have anything, as far as the stuff you've done, where would I like to send people who want to learn more about you and get your story and your songs and all that good stuff?
Well, I had a question. Are you going to play some of Rich's music and my music on this show for people to actually hear, or?
Well, I would play it on the show, but today things are we're having some technical difficulties. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play some of your stuff after the show on my channels, on all the show's channels, and I'm going to put links up for you guys. And I have all of it. I'm sitting here looking at it going, I love these tunes. I have listened to everything y'all have sent me, I have to tell you, and I enjoy it. And that's why, we're here, because when I go through, after a long time in the biz, you can tell people are really working it and have as I would say, it's like being a preacher. It's a calling. It's not a job. It's, when you get to our age and you've been working, you've had kids to raise, and if you haven't made it and you're not famous and, you're not Trisha Yearwood or, Garth Brooks level cash flow, it's a hard life. And it's a hard life being a musician in any field. Doesn't matter what it is. And part of my idea with the show is show everybody out there who maybe doesn't know any musicians, don't know how things work. I have bunches of fans who ring me up and ask me questions after they see the show or a show. And it's great because I get a lot of friends that I didn't know. And they'll ask questions that are questions I don't even think about, because to me, it's just like something like, it's like blowing my nose and reaching for a tissue. I don't think about, if I sit down to play drums or record a band or record somebody's vocals and produce it, I'll be sitting there going, I just do what I do. I don't take myself seriously, but I do know what sounds good. And I do my best, when I haven't produced a record in a long time. However, when I have in the past, and I've done a bunch, it's just basically a lot of good friends. And I was kind of like the concerned older brother. Good producer wears a lot of hats. You might be their rabbi one day. You might be their best friend because the partner dumped them, or they might be out of money and you might have to loan them a few bucks or let them sleep on the couch till things settle down. It's a hard life. And all I can say, do you have any advice for the lovelorn or anybody who's going to marry a musician? Let's hear what you've got to say on that subject. I'd be curious.
Well, I would suppose I'm married to my Mac Daddy.
There you go.
But he pays the bills and he pays for my
Right.
hot rod. But and it's expensive to run. But I would say that it would absolutely take someone supportive, if you were to have a love life, and someone that knows that you're going to be, like you said, in studio or out of state, out of town for the touring, and
Right.
either they can come with you, or they just have to
Right.
know.
Well, you're right about that. You have to have that trust factor too for those times when you can't be together. And if people who are jealous in this business, on either side, because it works both ways. You can have the kind of guy or gal are on the road going, oh, I got to call her like 25 times an hour. And what's she screwing around with that booking manager? People get so crazy because they don't know, and they're like nervous. Maybe they don't feel good about themselves. They might not feel worthy. And when you're gone, they're like, oh, no, I got to call them every 15 minutes to make sure they're doing right. Well, I would suggest if they have to do that, they've chosen wrong from the get-go, because, being insecure and stuff, it's not something most of us find attractive in someone. And musicians have to deal with that. And the girls, they also have or girls or guys, if you have good-looking people in the band, there's always some kind of crazy folks out there who are going to be attracted to you. And I've found things over the years pretty amusing at times. All the names will be changed when I write my book, and we'll protect the innocent or guilty as they may be. But that's one of the things about my book. I'm being very careful what I talk about with various artists because I've known some of these people 40 years, and a lot of us changed a hell of a lot over that time. Um, all I could say is I haven't had a drink in a long time, and the folks who don't know me for the past 3 or so years, they're like, "Well, that was one crazy fellow," He kind of liked his whiskey, and I certainly did. But I like, I don't know, I like drinking tea and water now, and I usually can work later in a better state of mind. So it's all good for me. Uh, Thank you for being on with us, and we're going to get back and talk some more at the end. I think
I
you're
was going
doing
to say
great. Of
one more
course,
thing.
absolutely.
I want to let Muscle Shoals know that I'm going to bring some Muscle Shoals sound. I'm going to do that, and I'm really proud to be able to do that too.
Well, you know what? I hope that when you do that, we'll be in touch because I want you to kind of be our correspondent at large at Muscle Shoals for an afternoon one time. And, life's made of all these experiences. I've never recorded at Muscle Shoals, but I certainly would love to take some of my best friends and just go in there for 4 hours with one song and have everybody know what they're doing. We walk in, we walk out, we got a song, and we're done. You know, it's like Fleetwood Mac can spend $30 million on recording a record, Tusk, back in the 70s or whatever they spent. It was a tremendous amount of money. Now, most of it was spent up their nose. Allegedly, there was a lot of coke involved. And I don't know. The album, they made better records with a hell of a lot less of a budget over the years before and
Stevie
since.
Nicks admitted to that. He did.
Yeah, it happens, but I love them. They've had a career all this time, and who the hell am I to tell them that anything they do? I'd be honored. I met them actually back in the. Let me think when it would have been. It would have been like between '93 and '95. I was working for a company. Ended up at a show in Pittsburgh. I was on the road and sitting in the bar, and all of a sudden they walked in after a show at whatever the arena was in Pittsburgh. As soon as they walked in, I went, "Boy, that fella's tall." And I went, "Oh, it's Mick Fleetwood." So they got in, they had a little entourage with them and sat down. And I have to tell you, they were very gracious folks. They don't know me from Adam, but as far as how they handled fans, it's the way I treat people too. I went up to them and said, "Hey guys, hope you had a great show. I was working tonight, but I'm not going to say anything other than there's a round of drinks for you. Just put the next one, the waiter knows." And we talked briefly, had a nice little chat, and had a couple of jokes, and they were great folks. And most of the people I think we meet at that level, most of them are pretty darn gracious. It's different like young Van Halen when they were in their 20s. Looking at David Lee Roth, the guy went to Japan for 2 weeks or 2 years, excuse me. That's that rock star money, where he learned to paint this ancient Japanese painting thing. Now, considering I can barely make an X with my handwriting, I found that fascinating. My girlfriend, she can paint and draw, and I have all kinds of friends in the art community. And it's like when we play music and people go, "Wow, how do you do that? It looks so easy." Well, I've done it for 50 years and I can do this now. It looks easy. I don't even think about it. It's like a painter. I watch people paint and I go, "God damn, I wish I could do that." But we've all got our place to be. And anything else you want to add before we take off and talk to Rick or Rich?
Well, I do want to tell you that I was honored by the presence of Johnny Taylor one time. I was
Say,
doing some karaoke in Muscle Shoals, and this large feller looked like a bodyguard. He come up to me and he says, I had sang something, and he said, "You see that little fella sitting over there?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "That's Johnny Taylor, and he wanted to pay you a compliment." And I thought, "Oh my gosh." And that was wonderful. And then Mr. Virgil Gibson from the Four Tops came up and sang with me one time in Huntsville. These are just really
nice.
honorable moments. A few other
Absolutely.
people I've met in the industry.
Well, I think you're really sweet, and I like you. You're humble, you work hard, and I like people who are humble and just let their music work for them. They don't have to be a brash, outrageous, crazy person like I am. I'm just that way because I'd be that way whether I was a musician or not. I like to have fun, and right
I
now, like
never.
all of us, go ahead.
Mhm. I haven't pursued the industry. I've just this is all I've done is sing and record and create music for myself, and and it wasn't something that I pursued. And if it were to happen, I just knew that if my God in heaven, he allowed, and I'm not going to get religious, but
No, I
if he allowed
understand.
it, then it would happen, you know. So
Hmm.
it was something that I knew if it happened, it would come natural.
Sure. Well, I wish you great success, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys come up with, both Wayne and Peggy. And I'm going to move on to Rich, but I'm so glad you've come on, and we'll be in touch again. I'm sure we'll be talking in the future. And
Thank you
all
very
right, so
much.
everybody who's been watching, we've been talking country music. We have had on the owner of A to Z Booking and High Music Records, and we're talking to Pandora and Rich Miller. Both of them are great talents, and I'm going to bring Rich on. He is another trucker as well, and we're going to just bring him on and see how life is wherever he is on that long road right now. Thank you very much. Look forward to talking in a little bit when we all get together at the end.
Thank you,
Bye
guys.
bye. Here he is, finally, the long-awaited Rich Miller. How you doing, man?
Brother, I'm good. Sorry about the audio tech. It was a problem, but I think we got it straight.
Oh yeah, we got it all worked out. So tell me, where are you parked at the moment? What state? Where in the hell in USA are
Uh,
you?
I'm in Virginia, Upper Virginia, towards between Winchester and Roanoke. I was in New
Okay.
Jersey last night, and New York. I was in Newburgh, and I'm
Huh.
headed south to Dallas, and then I'm gonna stop in Middle Tennessee and visit with my girlfriend.
Great. Well, that's always good to get home from the road and have your
Hmm.
girlfriend waiting. Absolutely. Where were you up here in New Jersey? I'm curious.
I'm every week. I'm up in. I work out of Landenberg, Pennsylvania. So I haul
Okay.
cars. I'm not just a truck driver. I'm a car hauler, which is a different. We
Right.
work a lot harder. But anyway, I was in Bordentown. I
Okay.
was in Manville, New Jersey, off 287. I was in
Yeah.
Newburgh, up on 87 and 84 up the auction. So I loaded. Came back down
Oh,
last
okay.
night. I had a long day yesterday. Long
I
day.
bet.
A lot of hard
I bet.
work. Oh yeah. And the
Yeah.
snow don't help when that
No.
snow had to be drifts. They had, where they piled it up was probably 20 foot high.
Right.
We
Right.
don't see that down south. Not like that.
No, no, I know. All my friends in Florida, it's getting in the 60s and they're running around in a down coat. Grew up in New York, but I lived in Florida for 40 years. I'm as bad as they were. When I moved back here, a friend of mine gave me a really nice coat that he told me, you'll be cool up in New York. This will keep you warm. And it was the best of intentions. But I have to tell you, driving up when I moved back from Florida, I'm in this a Chrysler. No, excuse me. I was in an Oldsmobile. Had the heat, full bore. Car is packed with clothing, a guitar, and a drum set. And then, and the books, all kinds of crap. I was packed into the thing. It's a good thing I didn't have a dog, or it would have been like, this is not gonna. I'll take the bus. Meet you there. I'll meet you in Newark. Um, so I guess I digress. How did you get started playing music? Let's just go right into it.
I started singing when I was 8 years old, and as I progressed into adulthood, it got to be about 90 something, and I started doing live performances, going here and there. I didn't have management at the time, but it got noticed from a lot
Mm-hmm.
of Nashville people.
Right.
But I don't want to speak names. It was good, but I've been on stage. I was on stage for a long time, off and on. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you become. And at the level
Of
that
course.
me and Pandora at, especially, where I've been on some big stages, I think the largest crowd was like 40,000 people at one time. And, you just get comfortable, and it's a destiny thing for me. And God has played a big part of me getting them my mother and father, which my mom was gone, but my dad's
Mm-hmm.
alive. He'll be 81 in January. So I grew up around it, but uh, to get professional level, people think it takes overnight. It just don't happen unless you're a
No.
multimillionaire. In my
Mm-mm.
case, writing and singing and naturally talented, I just had it. My mother and father knew that, and then I progressed from there.
Do you have any brothers and sisters, and do they play music? I'm
I
just
have two.
curious.
I have two sisters. When I started singing at a very young age, my mother would get us up in church. I always sung lead, so I don't know anything else. I can harmonize, but I've
Hmm.
got two sisters that can sing. But you couldn't get them on stage. One you could, the other and you couldn't. So they
Sure.
know how I sound. So we've done this for years. It's
Hmm.
just in churches, but I progressed a little bit farther with actual stage shows. I went to Loretta Lynn's. I've sung there. I went to
Hmm.
the Mountain Art Center, Kentucky Jamboree,
Nice.
just different places, you know.
Excellent. Um, do you play guitar? Is that how you primarily write?
I used to, but I had a trauma on my fingers and it in the car hauling business, so it's hard to make a C note. But yes, I can play
Oh,
bass,
okay.
piano, drums. But
Great.
as far as writing, um, it just comes to me naturally because, like I say, you either to be a writer, you have to be able to sing it. And I'm sure Pandora
Right.
will contest to that one too. But for me, it just got a little bit more advanced. I've got a friend of mine in Mississippi that comes up with the hooks, and I think sometimes when you've got somebody else pointing out good catchphrases,
Hmm.
that's where the writing, and it has to hit me the right way for me to write. But other than that,
Right.
that's it. I have to have a good catchphrase to go from there. Not being college educated, not being a professional writer,
Right.
I write pretty good. I'm blessed with that aspect. It just, I wrote quite a few songs.
Excellent. How many tunes have you written at last count?
Uh, all total, the ones that I've got put away, I probably got 20 or 25 songs that I've not even
Very
pulled.
good.
Plus the ones that I've got in the truck. I don't know. I've just got, I'd say
A
about
bunch.
all told about 30 songs.
Okay. Well, cool. And I guess we're going to be hearing some of those in the new year. I know you when we talked off air, you mentioned how you had all this all dressed up and ready to go, and then COVID hit, like everybody else. And when do you think you'll be back? I mean, just for all of you guys, I'm going to ask the question: where do you see us? I'm really curious more about a long term thing. When do you think we'll be back at the time where we're all just working and we have like we used to have more work and less time and we get it done somehow? Do you think we'll ever really be the same, or what do you think's happening with the music business? I know I've been in this business for 50 years. I'm almost 60. I'll be 60 next year, and I've seen some strange stuff over the decades, but this is by far the weirdest period of time in my 60 years that musically and watching people, and we don't have to get political or religious or anything. I just mean, where do you all think you see this starting to end? Do you think it's going to be early 21? I ask everybody this question, and I get pretty much the same answer. I can say myself, I don't know. I'm curious what you guys think. Pandora, what do you think about it? We'll ask you first.
Well, I believe that once we get all the vaccinations, the majority of the United States citizens, especially those that are elderly or have compromised health, and get them
Hmm.
vaccinated. And then Mr. Wayne has suggested that whenever we get the opportunity to go on and take the vaccination for to get on the road, to get tour, so that everyone is
Right.
comfortable and we're protect ourselves with health too.
Well, I would hope you
So
guys are essential
sure.
personnel and get first dibs over me. And I say that because you're out everywhere at truck stops. And um, Wayne and Miss Peggy, what do you think? You've been around this business a long time. Can you think of anything in your lifetime that's been this unusual from affecting business? Tell me what your thoughts are on that.
Well, this is something that I've never seen before in my career, but this is what I think.
Hmm.
With the vaccine coming out and people takes it, with the elder people first, then
Right.
where people can get together at concerts and everything, I think things are really going to open up.
I
That's
hope so.
what I think.
Um,
And
I
I
do hope
think it's
so.
not going to be a long time. I think after the first of the year, the way I'm watching the way they're getting the vaccine out there to the people, to the
Hmm.
parents and hospitals. It's going to be very shortly.
Well, I
And
hope so. My daughter's
I've
works
got
at Tampa General, just got her shot yesterday. I'm like so relieved. I got to tell you, my dad instincts. I trust her training. She's one of the she's far smarter than I am, and I still the dad in me just is like, oh God, she's at the hospital at the trauma center, and her husband
Mr.
works in
Neal,
medicine too.
it's been a really difficult for the trucking industry. It just about shut everybody down. Earlier this year, I have a truck that accommodates for chemical tankers, and I had pulled chemical tankers earlier this year, but I was expecting them to bring my truck on, but there were so many companies. I mean, I ended up being a company driver for a while, but it was hard on me financially too to not run my truck and stuff how I wanted to for a
Sure,
while. Yeah.
sure,
hmm
I'll bet. Well, what do you think, Rich? When do you see a light at the end of the tunnel?
Uh, Probably, I'm going to take a guess at this, probably midsummer, but I'm supposed to take the shot at the end of the month and in January. But of
Hmm.
course, I asked my doctor because the way
Right,
that Kaleidoscope and all the big people are, you're going to have a registration number with this shot
right,
before we can. Well, we can't entertain me or Pandora or none of us. We
right,
can't
right.
because the people that's booking us are not going to let us on shows. Now, with that being said, I've been busy. I've not slowed down since this has happened. You know,
So,
I'm here.
sorry, we had some lag time going on. I don't know if you could hear that, but oh, I hear myself. It's frightening. So,
But
go ahead.
but to speak for the car hauling industry, we've not slowed down a bit. I mean, I'm just as moving as many cars as you know
Hmm.
what I'm saying. So,
Sure. Well,
but
that's a good sign for the economy,
yeah,
or at
they're
least your own
busy. I
personal
mean,
economy.
they have tax season coming up, so we're always busy. It's as far as the music. Uh, as far as the music, I think that midsummer, but I think me and Pandora are going to be out pretty shortly after the shots. I think things will open back up.
Well, we all hope so. Um, so, guys, let's. I'm going to bring us back from this solo stuff. It gets confusing here. I have to tell you, I laugh. Sitting here pushing buttons. I might put you up there on a big screen, and I'm sitting here going, "Oh, wrong button." Well, we'll have a crack team of broadcast experts to handle us in no time. We'll have some of that Geffen money, hopefully. David, if you're out there, we can use a few 100 million. That would just be nice for a start for the show. We can get, But at any rate, I'm not waiting for that to happen. Like most of us, you can wish in one hand and some will fall in another. But what comes first? So tell me,
can
Wayne.
I say one thing, Neil?
Of course, sir. I'm going to bring you right on. Let's see what you got. Of course.
Okay, Neil, I'd like to thank some people that works hard behind the artist and everything. And Junior Holder and his wife up in North Carolina, they do all the CDs, the art layout and everything for the album on Rich
Hmm.
and Pandora. They're working hard on it. I'd like to thank them very much. They're a big part of our company.
Well,
You there?
I think you guys have a great team, and I'll certainly send you anything I think that's interesting if I run across people because I do look around and I wish you guys a lot of success, and I will stay in touch if you will. Anything got coming up? I'm in the back of my mind hoping to be in Nashville maybe in April. There's a festival that one of my other friends is doing, and we'll have to just see if it comes and if I have to have if you have to have a shot and all that. I'm not going anywhere without a shot for sure. I'll just sit here and look out the window. The view's like behind me, but it's really off to my right. I'm looking at it, and until all this uncertainty goes, I'm just going to sit up here, eat well. Today I'm cooking a big bunch of ribs upstairs or something good, and I have no complaints. So I want to thank everybody, and I really do wish you the best. You came
Thank you.
on, and I'm honored to have you all. And I wish you all the best, and talk
Thank you,
soon.
Neil.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Neil, very much.
And
Thank
for
you.
everybody
And Merry
watching,
Christmas.
Merry Christmas to all of you.
Merry Christmas to you and
Happy
Thank
everybody.
you.
Hanukkah, happy holidays.
Absolutely. And for anybody watching, if you have any questions about this show that we haven't answered, please reach out to me. I will reach out to them. If you have any questions about where to find their music, anything like that, just reach out to me. You can send me something personally. And we love having you. I hope we've entertained you for a little bit. You've definitely learned some new good music. If you like country, check these guys out. They're going to do a good job. And we look forward to seeing you in 2021. Everybody out there, we've been on live with Neve,
Yep.
and I thank you for watching. It's a beautiful day here in New York. It's a little bit cool, but I have to say, considering our amazing death snowstorm that was supposed to occur this week, I'm sitting here fine. The snow is melted. We're just going to have to cope with this challenge of 3 inches of snow. For all the news reports, I would think I was in Tampa and they were announcing a ice blizzard coming from the north, which I don't think will happen. So everybody watching, have a great weekend. Merry Christmas, and check out Pandora and Rich Miller. I want to thank Wayne and Peggy for having them on. And if you have any questions about any of them, just reach out to me and I will send you their way. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
All
Bye.
righty. Ciao.